button. There we go. Hold on one moment. I still have this set for the other window. There you are.
Oh, hello.
Right. Welcome. Hello, sir. For our viewers, I have a new guest. I'm speaking now with Sebastian from Atmoseeker. Just hung up with Hankerin. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Great to be on the show. It's I'm coming to you live from Australia. It's the middle of the day for me.
Yeah, it's the next day for you. That's still wild to me. I know it's
Living in the future.
Before stuff happens, but yeah. So same question I asked Hankerin first. For any segment of my viewership that may not be aware of you or what you do, why should we be? Who are you? Tell us about you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just like a giggly little girl. No, I run a YouTube channel where I do a lot of tabletop gaming stuff. It's mostly to do with tabletop gaming atmosphere, so it's to do with like your terrain, your miniatures, but mostly to do with like lighting and fog effects and sound to create an immersive experience for tabletop games, like for folks that have their own like tabletop room setups, or just wanted to just bring a little bit more kind of like spice to their next tabletop game or their big boss bad kind of ending and stuff. So there's some good like things to make it really more immersive and dramatic, turn kind of D&D into like an event. It is mostly focused on Dungeons and Dragons, but we do other kind of like tabletop stuff too. We do like I do crafting streams on like Monday nights and stuff. So we're working on a few videos at the moment. I'm very bad at just taking on like lots of projects at the same time. I don't know what it is.
You're bad in that you always do it, or you're bad in that you never do it?
I always start new projects. Like they usually get finished, but it's just I keep adding trains to the cabooses, carriages to the caboose, the train.
Yes, it sounds like me a little bit. I did hit critical mass a while ago, but yeah. I became aware of your channel originally through actually DM Scotty's Discord. We've both been posting a lot in the promo thread there at the time, and
All right.
I remember I watched a video of yours, and then I saw a link of yours in there. I was like, "Hey, I just watched your channel," and then I was like, "Oh wait, no, I watched your channel because I saw it here." But yeah, that was good. That you got some good stuff. We have one of the foggers you recommended actually.
Okay.
For our table. I have a gaming table that I built, and one of my gamers is a Hollywood lighting technician, and he installed some lights in it for me. And I was like, all we're missing is the fog, man. So it's one of the cheaper ones. Our stuff doesn't look as nice as yours, but you have some very cool stuff. And I know you always say, what is it? Create, inspire. Yeah. Well done.
Hey, look, I think to me personally, whenever I'm running a game or doing some kind of like tabletop setup or something, it's like, I have some kind of fog in there. I think that fog is just that nice little extra little bit of seasoning on top of the terrain that just kind of like ties it together. So I think whatever you got, even if it's just a little bit, I think it adds a little something.
Since I got it, I've yet to find the setup that isn't improved by it.
Yeah, it's just like that instant just make cool button. I think players
right.
players love it too, because like, oh, he's turning the fog on. This is going to be a good one.
Now, something else that you do that I think is really cool is you model items for 3D printing, and I've seen you doing some of that recently. Do you sell them? Are they patron exclusives? Like, what is your level with that?
That's just kind of something I've started doing. I say started. It's kind of been, I think we're probably coming up to like a year of releasing these kind of 3D printable. But yeah, I sculpt them all myself. They're all kind of like tools and props and that kind of thing, or terrain that kind of has like a atmospheric edge to it, I guess. Like it can have some kind of like fog thing through it, like some steam pipes that you can put real smoke through, or like some little holders and stuff that you can pot lights and LEDs, and or even like larger scale props like your dungeon torches, or I'm working on some big printable like dungeon columns and stuff, so you can have them as like you can set up a more bigger kind of physical space. But yeah, it's all been stuff I've been kind of designing myself, printing, testing, and it's been it's good. It's all on my Patreon store page where folks can kind of find it, or if you're on the Discord, you can have a look and see like, oh, testing these out, printing them out. So yeah, always kind of like trying to kind of come up with ideas for little atmospheric, kind of set the general vibe of a more immersive experience, and those are the kind of things I've been working on.
That's great
for the most part.
Yeah, I recently saw some of some of your videos about things you had modeled and printed, and I was like, man, I wish I had that 6 weeks ago. But yeah, it's always like that. I love 3D printing, but I don't do any modeling of my own stuff. I always buy it, license it from someone, or find it on Thingiverse or something.
One thing I do like though, like I some of the more recent stuff I have been kind of like translating to like 3D printable stuff has had like equivalents that are like more handcrafted stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like the dungeon torch stuff I've done recently. Like I've made a 3D printable version, but like years ago, there was one of the original like handcrafted kind of versions. So
Sure.
Even for folks who can't like 3D print and stuff, I like to kind of have those equivalents as well.
That's pretty cool.
Because it is a different. There is a big like cost involved with 3D printing. And honestly, it's kind of been one of those things that's kind of fit into my lifestyle lately a bit better, just because of how I work and with kids and everything.
Sure.
Just being able to kind of design something in the computer and throw it out there to print has been pretty good, and especially just kind of gives folks the ability to kind of like replicate that in their own setups pretty easily. So yeah, that's kind of,
because there's a cost either way, right? If you're printing it, it kind of costs money for the material, but if you're crafting it by hand, it costs your time, quite a bit of it.
That's right. Yeah.
So I don't know if this is accurate, but this is my impression from what I've seen of your channel, that a lot of your sort of atmospheric setups are designed with a remote game in mind. Do you game with people in person? And if so, like, what's the split? How much do you do that?
I probably would say a lot of the opposite, really.
Oh,
I mean, it's kind of, most of my game setup has been in person, just because I have all the lighting and everything. But anything I've kind of run online with like live streams, or kind of have guests from other kind of content creation channels, that's been kind of geared towards more of a online setup. So I guess I kind of experiment with both. It's the setup kind of changes depending on what it is. Like when it is more of a remote thing, it turns into like a miniature kind of film set where you'll have like the virtual background and like the fog and stage lights kind of lighting a little stage area. Whereas when it's the more kind of like in-person stuff, I kind of set up the more room area. That's kind of something I'm working on in the background at the moment. I'm rigging up a whole gameplay section around the back with all like cameras and stuff to get kind of a TV feel for like having live players in there. So hoping to have something ticking along like with that maybe later this year. The time's already like moving super fast. It's like, oh man, I feel like I've been working on this setup for like months.
Yeah, it's April now. Oh yeah, no, that's cool. And I was thinking about that because, like you said, it is a different thing. Obviously, I think most of us would prefer to game in person. But at the same time, when you can control camera placement, you can control exactly what they see. There's something fun about that too. Yeah.
I think also like for like some of the live stuff, I really like to incorporate a lot of the like physical miniatures and terrain, just to kind of, if for the people watching, it kind of gets a bit more interesting to watch, because you kind of have a bit more kind of like just visual kind of eye candy. And like personally for me, whenever I play D&D with friends and stuff, we might not use any of the terrain and minis for like like it might be a complete role play session, but just having it on there on the table, just like set right. It's like, oh, this is where we are. This is the
Yes.
kind of vibe. This is the kind of feel. And I just kind of like feel like that's just like a personal thing. I like to have that stuff in a D&D setup, even if we don't use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even for, especially for like the online stuff, becomes this kind of visual layer of engagement, and that's what I'm trying to kind of bring forward in the live setup around the corner as well. So it's going to be some live kind of like cameras moving around, and also just kind of like have stuff that's kind of goes low into the actions, just so you can get kind of the character's point of view on that kind of stuff. So well, yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things. I'm always kind of tinkering, pulling apart, putting together, trying different. Like, is it a big table? Is it a small table? It's just constantly kind of changing and evolving. I think when I originally had the space, I was like, all right, I'm drilling this in, I'm locking this in. It's going to be this size table, and then just like a week later, it's like, no, it's going to be a long table. I'm going to have these kind of like cameras set up. So yeah, I've never kind of like locked down to a particular type of setup. Which has been interesting for the channel, because I know a lot of people have different kinds of setups, want to try different types of setups. So it's been cool to kind of experiment that kind of thing. And the channel has been a lot of my experiments, I guess, ideas, and just ways, different types of like layouts and ideas to kind of get things more immersive, and how to present all this kind of like visual spectacle in a way that's engaging for players. And for viewers, and also, you know, it's fun as a DM to kind of throw all that stuff out and see the, oh.
Yeah, the reactions are always great. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That model of content creation is a little bit like parenthood, right? You take them with you on what you were going to do anyway, and then they learn it. Yeah, but I don't know. That metaphor just popped in my head, but.
No, it was good. It was good.
Thanks. But yeah, I mean, your stuff really does transcend the, simple visual aids. You know, I like when I was first gaming, it was just markers on a mat, and then, but at some point you get minis, and at some point you get terrain, and by the time you're Sebastian, you're directing a movie. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of like, you don't need all this stuff. You don't need all the lights. You don't need all the sound effects and everything. But it does make it turns D&D into like an event, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is like, we might only game once a month, but it's like, oh, this is the D&D night. I can feel it. He's got the scented candles. He's got the fog. We've got the little flickering lights around. Yeah, definitely. You gotta get that scent of magic in the air. Every sense.
I've been looking at some of those. They're selling them to me on Instagram now.
Yeah, honestly, like this, you can get anything, any kind of like scented something. I think I picked some on sale on like Halloween store stuff. It's all like, oh, this is the witch's brew candle. But yeah, there's I forget what we were talking about.
We're just hanging out, man. Yeah. So, what was your first game system, and what is your current game system? That's a question for you.
My favorite game system, you say?
Well, your first, like, how'd you get into the hobby?
First,
I guess. Yeah.
That was probably about, what is it? I want to say like 7 years ago or something. So I haven't even been doing it that long. Like I got into D&D pretty late. I wish I knew about in high school and stuff. Probably would have guided me pretty well through those high school awkward years. But yeah, I was introduced to it by my brother, and then it was very soon into playing it. We were like, oh, I'm gonna bring these little flickering candles. I'm gonna bring in these little coins and stuff, and it just started like building and growing until I started bringing in my own stuff. I started running my own games, and that was running with just 5th edition for the most part, and that's probably for what I've run a lot of my stuff with at the moment. But I have been kind of branching out into other kind of like systems. I do like a lot of the feel of a lot of those like OSR kind of systems. Like I've run some Knave stuff, which was a lot of fun. And I'm keen to run some of like I think Shadow Dark on my shelf over there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm give that a read and play and stuff. But I also like some of the sci-fi settings as well. I haven't run too much of them, but I do like to dip every now and then into something like a Coriolis or like an Alien RPG or something. Shake things up a bit.
You're listing games I've been meaning to try out. Yeah.
That's the big problem, right? It's just like I want to try all of these things, but the bucket of time that I have here is empty.
Yeah.
Where did it go? And then I usually just default to like D&D 5th edition.
Yeah, and I'm luckier than most in that regard. We have a whole show where all we do is try out new games, and yet you just listed a whole bunch of them that I haven't even picked up yet. It's just always going to not be enough. Yeah,
it's good to have friends that like run stuff too.
Yeah,
because that's how I've been getting a lot of my wargaming fix as well. For like the Shatterpoint, Star Wars Legion, 40k. Some what is it? We were just talking about Age of Sigmar as well. They're coming out with new stuff, so it gets dangerous when you start getting into like the wargaming stuff. It's like, there's like a whole bunch of like rules and stuff, and if you really wanted to get like into the meat of it, and like I want to like make this army and stuff, you could go down that rabbit hole for like years on just the one thing. Why didn't I pick one thing? And if I picked one thing, then I could hone in on that.
Yeah, well, every hobby seems to come with a bunch of micro hobbies, right?
That's right. Yeah, you start 3D printing stuff. That's a hobby in itself.
Yep.
There's whole channels devoted just to the 3D printing. It's a great rabbit hole. Rabbit holes fall down, but it's one of those hobbies, those communities that you kind of have all these different like settings and vibes that you can kind of jive off, and especially like the community is really nice at just like, oh, I'm doing this, and then you see that and you get inspired, like now I want to run that kind of thing. But honestly, like 5th edition has been the meat and potatoes for a lot of it, especially because of how versatile it's been. Yeah. Like I remember running a great like Western themed game in 5th edition, and that was pretty good. So you can get quite a lot of legs out of that. But I do have a lot of love for the like more OSR kind of like rule sets and stuff. Just because those things have been really easy to kind of like pick up, because they're usually like a leaflet style book. It's like, oh, it's just a few pages, and like I kind of get the idea of the system. Let's just play it. So it's definitely time wise, it's been nice to be able to pick up those simpler rule sets and just kind of go with it. Hero Quest, I think that's been fun to play with the kids.
Hero Quest, the board game?
That's right, Hero Quest, the board game.
Oh my goodness, if I had known, I would have brought it in. I have a big cedar chest that I made to store my Hero Quest in.
Oh, really?
That's great. Yeah, when I first found out that it was going for like $200 a set, the original one from when I was a kid. Yeah, I decided to protect it, and that was before I was even into D&D. I didn't get into D&D till I was 30, but
I feel like it's like the gateway drug into D&D.
Hero Quest,
it's like simple enough, but it kind of like touches on all those little vibes and stuff. I was talking to a mate the other day. He was showing off his fully painted like Hero Quest set. I was like, oh, son of a bitch, I'm super jealous of all your little painted monsters and stuff. But he had like all like the expansions and stuff, and it was like really cool how it's like customized. You can get really kind of like customized with like a lot of the player loadouts and stuff. It's one of those like simple rule sets that you have that you can get by fine on just how it plays is, but it's kind of has that area where you can add a little bit to it. Like, oh, what if we had like a little bit of specialization to it? Then it becomes like a more of a meatier experience, which has been kind of fun to try out ideas of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to throw out to the chat, if you guys have any questions you want me to ask Sebastian, Twitch or YouTube, let me know. And I see Yuri in the chat. Yuri's one of my players. She's pointing out Gateway drug, Hero Quest, absolutely. That's how we got into it. Yuri and I and our other friends, we were a Hero Quest group, and then one day we were a D&D group.
Yeah, just gotta get them where they're young, when they're kids.
Yeah.
I've got a 5-year-old who's into it, and I was like, all right, which class do you want to go? I want to be the wizard, Dad. Like, that's like the hardest one to be. You don't want to be like the barbarian where you just like hit stuff. Like, no, I want to be the wizard. Like, okay.
5's a little young for the wizard, but the wizard is, I think, the most fun one in Hero Quest. Because it's not complicated enough to be hard, like a D&D wizard is hard. But yeah,
I like all the cards, like all the like physical things. I don't know if I'm just like a sucker for that kind of stuff, but like wherever I can have like physical like objects that represent things,
yeah,
I don't know what it is. It just kind of syncs with me a bit better. Even if you download like rule sets and stuff. Like I had the PDF for like Shadow Dark like for ages ago. I don't know why this isn't like I'm not absorbing the information here. When I got the book and started reading it, it's like, oh, this is all. I don't know. Seeing those physical pages and stuff, it's just like I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you're the same way, but I like having.
I mean, it explains your channel,
things. Says a lot about Seb, how he likes touching things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm the same way for sure. The game is more real when there's something on the table. Yeah, and those Hero Quest cards, for me, it's Hero Quest in particular. I got it, the original version, when I was 9 or 10. I remember the old school commercials for it, where the kid's in the chair and he turns around and it's an orc. And yeah, that was great stuff. And for me, it's partly, just having a physical thing, and partly the nostalgia of, I played this game when I was 10, So that's where the Hero Quest stuff falls for me. But I'm definitely like you as well in that I saw DM Scotty early on in my DMing career, and I was like, well, this is a game changer. Literally, everything I do is gonna be about this now. Yeah.
I mean, I love how DM Scotty's just made it super accessible to kind of make all that like terrain. Mm-hmm. I think that especially when before I got started in the whole YouTube thing, like I was making a lot of stuff. I didn't have any 3D printers or anything, and those kind of videos were like, now I'm just like a gluttonous goblin in a dollar store, just like looking at things, going like, this could be a thing. This little tube thing, that's like a statue or something. I don't know, but yeah, he's kind of. I think after watching his channel, it's kind of given me an eye for. I never look at garbage the same way. Really. Whatever, this could be turned into a thing, a prop, a miniature thing. Definitely, yeah. I'm definitely thankful to a lot of those channels
for sure
when I was starting out.
Yeah, a million guys who were already pack rats became even worse the day DM Scotty.
No, I did a big like clear out of stuff because I was just holding on to so much. Yeah, styrofoam is big. It just takes up space. So I had to. Also you have that little kind of feeling of like I'm saving the planet a little bit, right?
Sure,
like
yeah.
I'm taking this foam off the side of the road and I'm going to turn it into something.
Yeah, so. Reduce, recycle, reuse.
That's right.
Yeah, except don't. You got to throw it
out. just hold on to it.
Yeah. So what made you take the leap from being just a crafter to being a crafting YouTuber?
Bullies. Got bullied into it.
Okay.
My peers at work. They're like, because I was running stuff at work, and I would come in at lunchtime. I would set up all my lights and candles and stuff. And just like even sometimes a little smoke machine or something, like, Sam, you should do like a YouTube thing. That's hot these days. Like, no, I don't know. This is too much work. But I tried it, started it. I think it was like, I want to say it's like 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago or something. God, has it been that long? I think I've probably got like 50 videos out or something. But it's been I kind of did that first video. It was about like lights and stuff, the kind of lights that I use for D&D. And I remember it being a lot of like cold. It was winter, so it was a lot of cold nights in the garage, and it would be just. I only had the single camera, and it was it was very. It took a long time. It took a long time, especially because a lot of the stuff is very low lighting, and I didn't have like the best like equipment for it. But like you just kind of got to take that first leap, I guess. Put that first video out, try it, and then look back at it and cringe and stuff. And you're like talking weird on there. You don't know how to talk to the camera and everything. But just like the more, it's kind of like DMing, I guess. Like the more you do it, the more practice you have at it, the more you try it. Like especially like I always feel like I'm trying a new camera or a new like microphone or something. I just kind of like trying different setups of like table setups or something, and it's every video kind of feels a little bit different to learning some new skill or feeling a little bit more comfortable in front of a camera. So it's it's a it's been a long journey. I just gotta the algorithm though, it kind of prefers more frequent uploads, and I am not good at that.
Well,
it all takes time.
we upload twice a week regularly, and you're beating us by quite a bit. So you're giving the people what they want.
Well, yeah, I hope so. I hope so. But at the very least, like I think at the core of it, just gotta have fun doing it, really. Because whenever I'm in here, especially like from a lot of the community, you kind of get like inspired by things, or you see stuff from like your channel, and you just watching like, oh, they're doing this and stuff, and the project I've been working on for weeks, I'm just gonna push that aside and like get inspired with this other thing. It's hard to focus on some things, but I think at the end, like deadlines are cool.
Yeah.
So it lets you kind of finish things. But yeah, it's been really fun to kind of work on some of that stuff. So I think at the end of it, if you're having fun doing it, then you just keep doing it, and then people will have fun along with you and want to be along for the ride.
Yeah, I agree. And there is always I've heard other YouTubers talk about the tension between having a regular, predictable content schedule and actually being able to make the content good. Those things sometimes are at odds.
Yeah, I think it's also because I try to balance this with like real life stuff, and I never wanted the YouTube thing to be something that became a chore or a labor or something unpleasant to do. Like like everything that happens in here is my passion. It's all kind of like bouncing off the community or inspiration and stuff, and it all just comes around like working around family and your job and everything. I think a lot of people with their own hobbies and stuff are in that kind of same boat. So it's been nice to kind of be able to kind of work on that stuff and make all these kind of videos and present all these ideas and things that I have in a way that's it's kind of balanced for me in a way. Like of course I would love to do more of it and stuff, but it's kind of like the best you can do until that kind of thing has its own kind of inertia and mass to kind of keep it moving forward. But it's been kind of a good balance at the moment. I think probably it's the quality thing that takes the time away the most, because I think I think maybe that's just kind of where I've been doing like the live stream stuff now once a week. That's been good to kind of give me that practice, keep the ball moving.
Yeah,
almost like if you're DMing all the time, you get better at DMing. So that's been good to do. But yeah, I think more videos come out would be good. But yeah, you just gotta kind of roll with how you roll. And like all my supporters on Patreon have been amazing, and they see all like the behind the scenes and how my attention keeps changing from one thing to the other. Yeah. I mean, I just got delivered a giant box of Dungeons and Dragons Lego. It's gonna it's insane. I don't know why I bought that. I know why I bought that.
Yeah,
Because
so do I.
everyone loves Lego, right? My kids love Lego, and they were like, "Dad, if you buy this, we'll play D&D with you." So, okay.
I'm learning now for the first time that there are D&D Legos, and I'm gonna probably get on that.
Yeah, it's expensive though. It's no whiskey this month.
I don't remember
or
Legos
Sam.
being expensive when I was a kid. Probably because I didn't have a job.
Man, yeah, it's gone up there. Yeah. If you don't like eating, then get Lego.
Fair enough. Well, let me ask you this. What do you see happening with your channel in the future? Talking about changes and shifting attention. Is there any place you are just about to take us that we haven't been yet?
That's a great question. I'm just been kind of, I think mostly I've got like a list of projects that I need to kind of like finish up. And I think I've been doing a lot of the like atmospheric guides lately. We're working on one at the moment, which is for caves. So that's kind of continuing on from like the dungeons atmosphere guide that we did a few months ago. But this one's going to be a collaboration with Archon Studios and their cave stuff. So then probably it's going to be some more kind of like atmospheric guide kind of things. But I think it's mostly kind of, it's where the inspiration is and what kind of like how the landscape of all this tabletop stuff is, how it kind of like shifts and changes. That's kind of where I kind of go. I would love to design some more 3D printable stuff, just because I feel like having stuff that folks can replicate and give into their own setups and stuff has been super cool. But I definitely want to have more like live play stuff, because I think what's great is like we make all this terrain, right? We paint all these miniatures, but I would love to show more of it in use, right? Like how to use these pieces. Like you've got all these like cave bits and dungeon bits, like how do we put them, how do you actually use it, how would I use it, how do we lay it out, how we present it. So I think that's what I'd love to do in some of like the live setup that's happening in the background. And I think that's something like I miss from like a lot of like the Critical Role live streams and stuff. They've got all their people and actors and everything. It's like, oh, but I really want to see the terrain and stuff. It's just like this little square in the corner. It's like, oh, I want this to be like the feature of how you kind of like use it and stuff. So being able to kind of show how to use that stuff is going to be great. And I think like before I know it, October is going to be here, and I'll have have to have something. October is usually the biggest month for Atmoseeker, just because Halloween, it kind of crosses over with a lot of my setup stuff. So it's we coined it as Fogtober. So this year will be the next Fogtober. I'm probably going to open it up to like the broader community. We just had it in our local Discord and stuff, so I might open that up, which is going to be all about fog setups, kind of like integration, how you use it with like terrain and stuff, how to make things more atmospheric. So there's a few kind of like projects kicking around and some ideas.
That's cool.
So definitely more live stuff, and more kind of how to use all this stuff is what I'm kind of leaning towards.
That's great. Yeah, I agree with you about when I was starting our stream for the first time. Our first show is the one that's in person at the table, and one of the things that bugged the crap out of me about Critical Role is they had these great setups and they're confined to this tiny little corner of the screen and you can't see them. So
when like such a fantastic set as well now.
Yeah, and you can't even
see more of it.
Yeah, so when I designed our layout, when we go to combat mode, everyone's just in like this tiny little strip of the screen on the left, and the whole rest of the screen is the tabletop. And that's because of what you said. I was watching other shows and I couldn't see what's happening. Yeah. So that's cool. Okay. here's something that's not necessarily 100% what your channel's about, but what are your best DM tips?
My best DM tips?
Yeah.
Well,
Don't look like
I
you're
think
about to get hit by a train, but
no. This is good because I honestly I run a lot of stuff from adventure books. I run a lot of stuff from modules. I do some homebrew stuff as well, but I think my number one tip with the like adventure books and stuff, whether it be like Horde of the Dragon Queen or all those classic kind of Rhyme of Frost Maiden, all those kind of things, is just look at those as like a la carte, just like buffet menu of stuff. You don't have to like. It's good to kind of read through the whole thing, but you just pick and choose what you like. You know, you don't have to have all the locations. You don't have to have all the like characters. If you say something that's slightly different from the book, don't beat yourself up over it and stuff. It's like it's kind of good to have that stuff as just like the raw ingredients that you can kind of build from. And when you bring that stuff to the table, it all gets like thrown out the door anyway. Sure. Just kind of how play goes. So I look at those books as like a great source of like inspiration for building those games and experiences. So that's probably my favorite kind of thing to do with like tabletop stuff for DMing. And honestly, like trying to I guess focus on the fun a lot. And what I mean with that is just like really kind of reading your players, I think, and kind of bouncing off each other, because like you might come into a session like with a whole bunch of stuff planned, right? Of like, all right, it's going to be such this, and this. And now I've been kind of doing it in a way that's like, all right, I have the first initial like seed of this idea. Like it could be simple as like, all right, you want to get into this party and there's an orc guard at the door. And like that is all you have to have kind of like have thought out for that entire encounter, right?
Sure.
You may have some ideas what's behind the door and everything, but then it's just more of bouncing off your players of what do they do? what things happen? That when things go wrong, that's the best. It just kind of keeps things interesting for you as a DM as well. As like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm enjoying seeing how this unfolds and stuff. So I think just embracing the chaos of that kind of stuff kind of helps it be a lot more fun. And yeah, don't be afraid to kind of like just change things as the game is playing, just because you kind of just bouncing off the players, you kind of get mid play, and you might just notice that your players like, oh, they're really focused on just like this artifact kind of thing, and like I don't have anything to do with like this watch or something, this like golden pocket watch they picked up in the initial the previous game, but now it's all they can talk about and stuff. It's like, okay, all right, we're gonna roll with it. It turns out it's haunted, all right. And then it turns into this whole thing. So it's being able, like, I kind of see D&D as like it's been a good, almost structured improv thing where you have the rules and stuff to kind of keep things on track so things don't go too crazy, or kind of keeps people in the same boat. But it's been good to have embrace the craziness as well. Yeah.
You talked about the haunted necklace because your players kept paying attention. That almost that exact thing happened in my group in our first adventure. There was a necklace that they recovered from some goblins they'd killed or something, and they were just arguing over it so much. They were so convinced it was important that I made it haunted. I put Orcus in it. And it became a major plot point. It was nothing. It was random loot. But, yeah. And the first part of your answer there about running from the book and not being too married to the content of what's in the published adventure module, that actually sounds like... yeah. That actually sounds like... a response to something that Brandish and I were saying an hour ago, which is
I did notice that.
yeah, we were both like, yeah, man, I can't run those things because I can't learn all the lore, and you're like, you don't need to know the lore, which of course you're right, but it's something in my head where it's like, I want to get the lore right, and if I don't, I'll feel bad about it, you know.
I think that's also the thing. Like everyone runs a game differently. Everyone reads those books differently, and I'm just gonna say what works for me. But like, there's no wrong to it. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna yuck people's yum of things, and you just kind of go with what feels right to you. Like if you absorb that information better that way, then that's great. That's you having fun with that kind of stuff.
yeah,
But for me, especially with like, you know, job, family, that kind of stuff, I've got 5 minutes the night before a game to kind of like prep something. I'm gonna just get the broad strokes here. So it's just been something that kind of fit into my lifestyle at the moment.
that's great. So you kind of answered what my next question was going to be a while ago, which is just what other games would you like to play soon? Oof. I got to play Call of Cthulhu in an hour, and I still got to make a character. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, here's a question for you. Who do you watch on YouTube in the hobby?
Who do I watch?
Yeah.
I like to watch a lot of the smaller channels. I I like it. There's lots of them. It's kind of hard to kind of list them out,
Sure.
but it's nice to be able to see kind of where people start out, especially when it's quite like raw with a lot of that stuff. But it's really impressive how far like the initial production value of those things start out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of the kind of channels I watch, I've been watching a lot of tabletop witchcraft a lot lately because I feel like there's been a bit of crossover with a lot of like the fog and stuff in his latest builds. I was like,
Yeah,
I like,
you guys
what he's done
definitely
there.
have a vibe in common. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes I like to watch a lot of that black magic craft as well, just because it's interesting to see that there is still like a place for all like the handcrafted stuff, and maybe it is a lot of it of like I don't do a lot of the handcrafted stuff as much lately, just because of how time intensive it is.
Yeah.
But I do miss it sometimes, and I've got a whole ideas, project ideas and stuff that I want to be able to like craft and stuff, but those things are hard to do, especially because they take a lot of time to like, all right, I'm gonna make this, fortress or something. Heck, I think Zorpazop, he was making a giant 40k fortress kind of thing. I do not know how he does it, but yeah, some of those projects that they just take so long to make, and then you add like filming it on top of it, that like doubles the length of production time for that kind of thing. It's intensive. Like I would love to do more of that stuff, but it's I think it's kind of has to have its own inertia for the channel first if I wanted to do more of that stuff. But yeah, I think that's where the 3D printable stuff has made it more manageable for me.
Sure. Yeah, I've gone through a similar arc. I was big into crafting for a long time, and once you get a 3D printer, you feel like this can do the crafting for me, and I can get those hours back. Which I know some people in the crafting community, for them, it's like the crafting, the process itself is something that relaxes them. And for me, I do it because I want to have the final product, So I don't know where you fall on that spectrum, but yeah, that's definitely
A little bit of both, I think. Like, because with the channel, I like to be able to kind of present a lot of different locations and ideas. And I was like, oh man, I've used the same set of trees for like the the same 6 episodes. I need to shake things up a bit.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of that final product thing. But it definitely really enjoy the kind of you know, the just chilling out, being there, kind of tinkering around, crafting, painting or something. Especially when it's sometimes like lately, a lot of the After Dark live streams have been very. I've got this terrain that's grey. Let's make it not grey by painting it, and those become quite relaxed with how those kind of come together. Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think there's room for both.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, I also will mention I watch a lot of Constructed Chaos as well. So they're I don't know if you're familiar with those guys. They do a live play type stuff.
Their name sounds familiar. I can't say I can place them. Actually, the previous person you mentioned, something with a Z, that was the one I didn't know. Zapadorn. I don't know what you said. A Warhammer person.
Zorp.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, he's in New Zealand now. I think he was in Australia, but yeah, he's in the heart of Middle Earth right now.
Ooh, good for him. Yeah.
But yeah, Constructed Chaos is a good one. They do a lot of live play type stuff. They even use some of my terrain and stuff on there. I've seen with some of like the industrial stuff that I've designed. So yeah, they have very high production value on like their layouts and stuff, which has been cool to watch.
Awesome. Well, I think that's about it for me. Did you have anything else you wanted to discuss before we say goodbye and move on to the next thing?
No, I honestly, I think I have to get back to work pretty soon. But it's been an absolute pleasure jumping on, talking things tabletop. I am looking forward to the next ArchoniaFest. It's already been fantastic seeing all the guests that you guys have had. So yeah, this is just a fantastic community that we can just bounce off each other, talk about things tabletop. I really love it. I love it. Go D&D.
Go D&D. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming here, saying nice things to me. Yeah, I hope to talk to you again in the future.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks very much for having me.
For my viewers, I'm going to go on a break. I may pop in and say hello sometime in the next hour, but then when we really come back, it'll be for Alan running Call of Cthulhu. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you then. Thanks, Sebastian.
See ya.